Hello everyone, welcome back all of you on Wondering Minds YouTube प्लेटफॉर्म। प्यारे दोस्तों, मैं एक बार फिर आप सबका वंडरिंग माइंड्स के YouTube प्लेटफॉर्म पर वार्म वेलकम करता हूं। कैसे हैं दोस्तों आप सभी? दोस्तों, जैसा कि आप सब जानते हैं कि हमने अपने YouTube प्लेटफॉर्म पर हाल ही में एक रैपिड फायर सेशन सीरीज़ को स्टार्ट किया है अपकमिंग यूजीसी नेट को ध्यान में रखते हुए, जिसके अंदर आपको डेली वन लाइनर्स करवाए जा रहे हैं। तो आज उसका हम पार्ट 5 यहाँ करेंगे। इससे पहले अगर आपने हमारे रिमेनिंग सेक्शंस नहीं देखे हैं, रिमेनिंग वीडियोस नहीं देखे हैं, तो आप एक बार उन्हें भी अच्छे से देख लें और उन्हें याद कर लें, क्योंकि वे एक एक पॉइंट से आपको पीवाईक्यूज़ मिलेंगे या फिर अपकमिंग एग्ज़ाम में, चाहे वो इंग्लिश लिटरेचर का कोई भी एग्ज़ाम क्यों ना हो, आपको क्वेश्चन बनता हुआ ज़रूर मिलेगा। और अगर आपको हमारे बताए गए पॉइंट्स रिलायबल और एग्ज़ाम ओरिएंटेड लगते हैं तो आप हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हैं, लाइक कर सकते हैं और हमारे लेक्चर्स को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा शेयर कर सकते हैं और अपने कमेंट्स हमें दे सकते हैं, जिनके अंदर आप अपना सुझाव या फिर कुछ भी जो आपको इम्प्रूवमेंट चाहिए, आप हमें वो बेझिझक यहाँ बता सकते हैं। इसके साथ आप हमारे टेलीग्राम ग्रुप को ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, जहाँ डेली 9 PM एग्ज़ाम ओरिएंटेड फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट क्विज़ेस कंडक्ट करवाई जाती हैं। इसके अलावा आप हमारे व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स को भी ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, जिनके लिंक्स आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में अवेलेबल करवा दिए जाएंगे। दोस्तों, इसी के साथ अब हम ज़्यादा टाइम ना लगाते हुए हमारी फर्स्ट स्लाइड की तरफ चलते हैं। एंड आवर फर्स्ट पॉइंट इज GB शाह play The Apple Cart is very important according to exam point of view. The Apple Cart is a political satire on bourgeois democracy. Our next and important point regarding Herman Melville, American writer, was the friend of Nathaniel Hawthorne. Melville dedicated his novel Moby Dick to Nathaniel Hawthorne. Our next and important point, the movement aestheticism was originated in France, where its chief pioneers were Baudelaire and Gautier. Our next important point, a hymn to God the Father, is the poem John Donne composed after his wife's death. This poem is composed by John Donne, metaphysical poet, after his wife Anemone's death. Our next and important point about John Galsworthy crime play. Justice was part of a campaign to improve conditions in British prisons. The former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill attended an early performance of this play in London. Our next and important point, Lollard's group, anti-critical English Christians, were followers of Wycliffe in the 14th and 15th centuries. डियर लर्नर्स, मैं आप सबको इन पॉइंट्स को बहुत आराम आराम से इसलिए बता रहा हूँ क्योंकि इन पॉइंट्स का एक एक वर्ड बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है। अगर एक भी वर्ड मिस हो गया तो वहीं पर सेंस भी चेंज हो जाती है और फिर मीनिंग भी चेंज हो जाता है। दैट इज़ वाई मैं बहुत ही आराम आराम से आपको ये पॉइंट्स बोलकर बता रहा हूँ। ये सभी पॉइंट्स में आपको सिर्फ इनकी क्रैमिंग करनी है, इन्हें रटना है। Our next point is इनमें समझाने के लिए कुछ नहीं है dear learners. Our next point is point counterpoint is Aldous Huxley's longest novel. Instead of a single central plot, there are a number of interlinked storylines and recurring themes. Many of the characters are based on real people, most of whom Huxley knew personally. Our next point is in the novel, the grass is singing. Doris Lessing, his most important writer, is the story of a relationship between a white woman and a black man in Rhodesia of South Africa. Our next point, Kingsley Amis, also very important. First novel, Lucky Jane, is dedicated to Philip Larkin, also very important poet of modern age who helped inspire the main character and who contributed significantly to the structure of the novel. The novel is about a man who wants little from life. Our next point is Lord Byron uses the Ottawa rima in his poems Beppo, Don Juan, and The Vision of Judgment. These are very important poems by Lord Byron. Our next point about T.H. Lawrence's novel Sons and Lovers. Paul Morell's mother's name is Gertrude. Morell is a young man and budding artist. The book may be designated as a psychological novel. Our next point is Keith Douglas' poetry is inspired by Dylan Thomas. He wrote his military memoir Element to Zem before the before he being killed in action in the war. Our next point, the hero Christopher Marlowe's played Tamburlaine was born at Shefford. The play was written in two parts, each of which has five acts. Our next important point, Alexander Pope's trages Lord Harvey in the portrait of Sporus and Joseph Addison in the portrait of Atticus in the Epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot is very important work. John Haywood work. The Four Ps is a literary interlude by John Haywood written in about 1520. The four main characters in Four Ps are a palmer, a pardoner, a apothecary, and a peddler. However, dispute as to which of them on tell the greatest lie. Our next and important point about Lawrence Stern's novel Tristram Shandy in 1759 has been called one of the most important forerunners of psychological fiction. Our next and important point about J.B. Shah's play The Philanderer and Mrs. Warren's Profession tell victim to Lord Chamberlain's censorship. Our next point, again on G.B. Shah's play Widower House, is an attack on the Widower House is an attack on the landlordism of the society and whose chief character, Trench, arises no sympathy. Our next point, Salman Rushdie's fantasy and science fiction novel Grimace refers to the 15th century Spain as a starting novel. It was his debut work. Our last point of this session is Quantic Hills. Remember, dear learners, Quantic Hills is the place where lyrical ballads was written. That's all everyone. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe and if all of you like this session and points, then please like it, share it to your friends and motivate us to give your positive feedbacks.